call of the Hawks can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
And welcome into the Pod at the Palace post-game live reaction show presented by SARACEN, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis here with you on this Thanksgiving night to talk about Arkansas's 80-71 loss to Duke and Cam Boozer's elbows in Chicago. Hell of a game, man. Arkansas played their tails off, back and forth affair. Both of these teams, I think, are really, really good. Both of these things, I think both of them can do a lot of damage in college basketball this season. But once again, Arkansas comes up on the short end with a big spotlight opportunity. The Razorbacks led by 7 midway through the second half, but they just couldn't make the winning plays in winning time. And Duke could. And when you've got that going on and you have no answer for Cam Boozer, who's an incredible player, a matchup nightmare, and is unguardable when he's allowed to play the way he was tonight. Andrew, your thoughts on this one? I've got some mixed emotions.
Well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Turkey Day. Hope everybody had some good family fun today, stayed safe and all that jazz. But overall, I feel about this game not terribly dissimilar than I felt after the Mississippi State game. Obviously, Arkansas's only other loss this year. I was more surprised coming out of the Michigan State game because I honestly didn't think Michigan State was as good as they are, and they've proved to have been since that game happened. They've had some pretty impressive wins. So that loss has kind of aged well. I don't know if this loss is necessarily going to be one that ages super well, but losing by 9 on a neutral court to Duke isn't one that's going to drastically change your outlook from a resume standpoint, all that. Really, the way I feel is just disappointed because Arkansas had a chance to make a statement, had a chance to get a lot of that respect that, they're not necessarily getting a ton of. I mean, ranked number 22, that's probably about the right number, but they're just not a team that everyone's really talking about right now, which is rare when John Calipari is your head coach. And honestly, until Arkansas wins one of these big games in these moments against a team that we know is good, they're going to get plenty of opportunities coming right up down the chute here. But until they get over that hump and find a way, like you said, to make those plays to win these tight, close battles, you're not going to get that respect nationally. As far as what this means, this result means for this team moving forward, it doesn't really change anything about what this team can accomplish, how good they can be, and the fact that they can be right in there with some of the best teams in the country. But again, almost doesn't really excite people. Almost is not something that you're going to go tell your buddies on Monday, hey, man, the Arkansas Razorbacks, we were there with Duke for a little bit. We were only down by 2 going into that last media timeout. I think that's the big disappointing thing to me. I love the way Arkansas came out in the second half, and there was a moment there where we're like, holy crap, dude, they're going to do this. They're playing with their hair on fire, and there were spurts where I felt really good, and there's some good things we can take away from this game, but just too many kind of weird lapses. You had the 10-0 run in the first half that stretched it from 22-22 all to 32-22 in an instant, and then down the stretch, it's a 2-point game. You come into that last media timeout. You want to see your team rise to the occasion in those moments, and Arkansas just didn't do it tonight. Hopefully they'll do it soon, but until then, we're just kind of stuck in this weird range where we know this team's pretty good, but they haven't really given us that definitive here we are moment yet.
Yeah, there were several times throughout the course of this game where I was watching, I was going, man, this is the team that we thought Arkansas was going to have. Boy, did the light turn on for them. This is what they're capable of. Can't wait until they're full throttle. But then there were other times where I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Just some silly mistakes, boneheaded plays out there. That's part of the process for a growing team like this. And for me right now, Arkansas capable, absolutely. Consistent enough to win games like this? No, they're not. They got a long way to go. You mentioned coming out of that final media timeout, and Duke, they ratchet up the intensity defensively. They get the stops. They come down on offense. They run their stuff. They get the ball to Boozer, and they get him an advantageous situation. Bucket time after time. And then on the Arkansas end, they really didn't have an answer for Boozer there. And I'm sure I'm not even going to talk about it too much right now because I know 2/3 of the chat's going to be about what that dude was getting away with. Yeah, we know, and we'll get into it. But and then it got stagnant for Arkansas and some of that my turn basketball and not getting good shots and some silly turnovers mixed in there. Arkansas is really, really good. They're going to be okay. They're not where they need to be just yet. And what is John Calipari going to talk about in the press conference? I'm telling you guys right now, he's going to be playing the hits and doing the whole thing about I have to teach these guys how to win, and I might just have to drag them over the finish line. We've got to get more connected. He's going to be talking about all those things. We'll roll our eyes after a loss like this, but it's true. That's just kind of where they're at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the officiating, and like I'm sure we're going to talk about it a good bit. I wouldn't say it was good at all, like not at all. But I also think that if you think this game, like that's the story of this game, and that's the only lens you view this through, I think you're missing a little bit here. Like I think there's some accountability to be had on Arkansas' side. Could you have gotten some more calls? Absolutely. Would it have maybe made a difference in the result? Sure. But at the end of the day, like Duke made plays down the stretch, Arkansas didn't. And for me, I think the big disappointing part, I mean, Carter Knox, I know you're going to do the player grades, and I'm not trying to grade everyone out now, but
Please do.
is another guy that I feel like this is a huge redemption moment for, because you look back at that Michigan State game, it was Trevin Brazile and Carter Knox were the two guys that completely no-showed, two of the guys that we thought would be a key part of that veteran core. And why did we feel so confidently that, hey, this team might be ahead of schedule? Well, it's because of those veterans, because of DJ Wagner, because of Carter Knox, because of Trevin Brazile, because of Billy. And some of those guys, I thought DJ and Billy especially, had some good moments in this game. Trevin was a lot better in this game than he was in the Michigan State game, but I don't see those guys rising to the occasion in these key moments and kind of telling everyone else, hey, get behind me. We know how to make this work. We've been in the NCAA tournament. We've won these tight games before. I feel like Arkansas hasn't been able to carry the momentum they built down the stretch last year into this year in terms of a culture, mindset, and these winning moments. They haven't quite developed what they already developed last year.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so let's talk about that for a minute here with the returners, because that's 100% true. The reason why Cal was able to schedule as aggressively as he did, guess what? It doesn't get any easier. You got a team that's going to be top 5 walking into Bud Walton Arena, on Wednesday in Louisville, and that's an entirely different type of challenge than what you saw tonight. But the reason he did it was because of what he had back and the continuity and the thought process of, okay, we've already got this foundation laid. The floor probably a little bit higher out of the gates than some of these other teams that have entirely new rosters that have to figure it out. And you haven't been getting enough out of those returning guys consistently. It's part of the process. I get it. You've got 2 very dynamic freshmen in Acuff and Thomas. You've got to learn how to play with those guys, and they have to learn how to play with their teammates. That's a big part of what's going on here with Arkansas. When I say what's going on, 2 ultra competitive losses against 2 of the best teams in the country is what's happened so far. So keep it relatively speaking here. Arkansas is okay. But you want to win some of these games like this. You're 0 for 2 right now, and you got 3 more opportunities. You need to get a couple of them. We'll see what it looks like here moving forward. But to your point, Carter Knox, he made the jumper at the start of the second half. That's it. That's all we saw from Carter in this game after what happened against Michigan State. That's very frustrating. Wasn't flying around to the glass as much as he has been in other games. It looked like he was bothered by the length of Dame Sarr and Kamenia, and it was just a wrap. Man, he played 22 minutes, and it was a cardio Carter type of game out there. And he's kind of been like back in. It's a roller coaster ride. One game looks really good, locked in, comfortable. Next game, kind of a no-show. So I know that's been frustrating. Billy, I think, has really settled in and starting to come into his own. That's great. Trevin, really, really solid in this one. I understand that he was getting worked over there by Boozer. I'm kind of reminded about when Muss used to just put Jalen Williams on those dominant big men and say, hey, good luck, one-on-one, here you go. They weren't bringing a whole lot of help. That's a tough assignment for him. I thought he played fairly well, though. And DJ Wagner, kind of he was just kind of out there. Performance, did a couple things there early. They got to get more from some of these guys consistently. I thought Acuff played well in this game after a little bit of a slow start. Malik Thomas was better for larger stretches of the second half than he was in the first. Not as great down the stretch there, but this is just a group that's still trying to figure it out, and Duke is just a little bit ahead of where Arkansas is right now. And Arkansas does not have a Cam Boozer.
Yeah, I mean, look, Arkansas does have some very good freshmen, but it's like there's levels to this a little bit in terms of just how easily you can dominate a game. And ultimately, like Curtis, we always say these bits of, hey, you can get better, and the way they're playing now, they won't always play that way. That you can be playing bad basketball in November and December, and then turn around and play great basketball. And we can point to all these teams of the Muss era, of Cal's past with Kentucky, whatever, even last year's team. We can point right to that and say, hey, it's very reasonable to believe that this group we see with a lot of talent, they're going to play better together down the stretch. And so, big picture, we can still say all that. It just sucks that we're not carrying over what we had from last year. And that, like you kind of touched on, like, it's not like you're building, you're kind of just getting back to finding a group that can find a way to play together. It would be a lot easier for me to process this if the freshmen were just kind of like if we had come into this game and like Knox were awesome, Brazile were awesome, Billy, DJ, they really set the tone. And then Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff sucked. I honestly would have a easier time processing it because I'd say, look, those are freshmen. This is like their first time in a big matchup like this. They'll get better. And if we just add that to what we already have, we're good. Right now, it just seems like Arkansas has 8 capable guys that all kind of whack-a-mole their way through like being capable in different stretches, but they don't go into every game knowing what they're going to get from all their guys. And that's when you really have a good team. That's what Arkansas had down the stretch last year, is a group of 8 guys. You knew what to expect from them night in, night out. Arkansas just doesn't really have that. And it's not the end of the world. I'm sure they're going to develop it. I'm sure they're going to get better throughout the year. It just sucks that, you're not really starting from a higher spot than we thought. Because Duke you're right, 100%. Duke is ahead of schedule of Arkansas, but that was the exact terminology we thought we were going to be using about this team. And so that's why it's disappointing. It's not the end of the road, and we're not, I'm not panicked about anything, and I still believe in this team's ceiling, but I am very frustrated, and it does change the way I view this team, honestly, after seeing their first 2 big tests away from home. Like, they are not quite as good as I thought they were preseason, at least not right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's a good way to put it. Not panicked, and there's absolutely no reason to be thrown in the towel or anything like that. But frustrated is a good word for it for all the reasons that you laid out there. It's interesting. Arkansas made more threes than Duke did in this game. I did not have that on the old bingo card coming into this one. Duke shot twice as many free throws as the Razorbacks did. I did have that on the bingo card going into this one. Arkansas acted like they were surprised that some of the things that were getting called on them that weren't calls on the other end. I don't know what the hell you expected coming into this basketball game. All you got to do is go back to the Elite Eight a couple years ago and listen to JD Notae's post game, where he was like, "Damn calls against Duke. What are you talking about?" So that was entirely unsurprising there. The superstar treatment for Cam Boozer, incredibly frustrating, not surprising whatsoever. But Arkansas, this is kind of what I was afraid was going to happen. I talked about it a little bit in the pregame, to where I was worried about the things I said, and then I picked Arkansas to go ahead and win. But I said in my gut, I don't feel great about this. Main reasons being the Cam Boozer matchup. I'm really worried about that. It would have been nice to have an Adu Thero type in this game. So that part of it, and then I just felt like Arkansas was going to get slogged up in the half court. Not always, but for stretches where they were just going to not get quality looks, and you would need somebody to step up and make some tough shots. And Arkansas got a couple of them. Acuff hit some tough ones. Leak hit some tough ones, but not enough of them. And you can't rely on that when you're in crunch time and winning time. So Duke executed down the stretch, and Arkansas didn't.
It says Arkansas has 14 fast break points. That seems higher than I watched.
Second half, it seems like that was really limited, right?
Yeah, I didn't feel like Arkansas got out and ran that much. They knocked down 10 threes, which, 10 is a nice number, 10 of 30, 33%, not great. And so for Arkansas, if it does turn into a half-court game, it is going to be harder for them. Honestly, if there's things you can take from this game, I thought the defensive effort they played with in the second half specifically, and the first, 7 minutes of the first half, they came out hot. I feel like if they're playing like that, their half-court offense wouldn't bother me as much, because I would say, okay, they're forcing turnovers. They're going to get out and run. Guys will get some open threes. Things will happen. But if it is just going to be like hard buckets night in and night out and possession in and possession out, that is going to be tougher for Arkansas. But at some point, I feel like the defense has to affect the offense. And right now, Arkansas's defense and Arkansas's offense are not connected in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Yeah, I'm like on the stat broadcast, if you just look at the current trends part, like how the game is going, here's what it says. Duke, 5 of last 5. Arkansas, 0 of last 5. Yeah. And then you lose by 9, so there you have it. 35-9 for Cam Boozer. That's nasty.
Well, dude, he didn't score for the first 6-7 minutes too. 6-7. I did the thing. But the first 10 minutes early on, there was a point where I almost texted you and was like, man, they're playing him well. This is great.
Yeah, I know. Well, they got to regroup before Wednesday. Now this is a big one. I'm not going to do this is a must win in the first game of December or whatever, but your best opportunity to win one of these big games in the non-conference is playing one at home at Bud. And I imagine the crowd will be real solid for that one. I sure hope it will be. You got a really good opponent coming in there, but adds a little bit of pressure onto the shoulders there. I did the bit, Andrew, in the pregame this morning where I was like, we're not doing the moral victory thing. I don't care if you look good in a loss. It's time to win. It's time to make a statement. And I'm going to be pissed off regardless if it doesn't happen. and I'm going to backtrack on that a little bit. I'm frustrated with how this one went down, but I do think for large stretches there, Arkansas looked the part, and so I'm less irritated than I damn sure thought I was going to be going into this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I'm not in full on like moral victory mode where I'm like happy they kept it close.
No, yeah.
I think I said coming in that like this was going to be a 40-minute basketball game, and weirdly enough, there were different stretches where it looked like Duke was going to blow out Arkansas. Then you're kind of like, damn, is Arkansas going to like run away with this from?
Yeah, like they're going to pull away. Right.
But it really was a 40-minute battle, which the fact that Arkansas and Duke were in a 40-minute battle, and frankly, I think if those teams played tomorrow, they'd be in another 40-minute battle. Maybe Arkansas would win, maybe they wouldn't, but I just think Arkansas is pretty close there, which makes me feel good. But you're right. Like it wasn't like a must-win tonight, but now that you didn't win tonight, you kind of have to win on Wednesday. And it's like, if Wednesday, you're right, it's not really a must-win, but if you lose that, then you're going into like those Texas Tech Houston games, you're like, crap, do they really have to win those? And then it just keeps kind of kicking the can down the road. That's why it's like tonight's game, we can, I know there's a lot of people who are mad and, feel free to be mad, but it's like, I don't even really care to make a big picture proclamation on this team, because it's like, let's just do that Wednesday. They have another big opportunity. Here we go. We didn't get our big win tonight. All right, on to the next one. Wednesday. Focus in. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Lock in, get better for the next one. All right, folks, we're going to get to your chats pretty quick here because I know there's a lot of reaction and a lot of stuff that you guys want to talk about. But first, got to tell you about our partners over at OZK Insurance. Nobody wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around. That's why I use and recommend OZK Insurance. They're based right here in Arkansas, and they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and price for you, whether it's home, auto, business, you name it. Whether it's Saturdays at Razorback Stadium or everyday life, you want protection you can count on. With over 600 five-star Google reviews, you can count on OZK Insurance. Get a free online quote at ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. It's OZK Insurance, protection made simple. Okay, let's get into the chat. Was there anything else you need to get off your chest before we get into this? I'm sure we're going to repeat a lot of what we already said, but
I guess just before we get into the chat, because I did see one guy pop in and say, why won't y'all just give Duke credit? And to which I would respond, like, if I didn't give him the credit off the top, gladly will. Like, Duke's a good team. Cam Boozer's a monster. I don't know if they're actually the number 4 team in the country, but like, I would say Duke was for the most part as advertised. I don't think they're like world beaters and they're like firing on all cylinders, but they're a very good barometer for if you're a good team in college basketball.
Yeah, I think one of the first things that came out of my mouth actually was that I thought these were 2 really good teams that can do a lot of damage in college basketball this season. And then I think I've been complimenting Duke's ability to make the winning plays on both ends of the floor down the stretch relative to Arkansas. So I don't know what the hell that guy's talking about. Anyway, let's get into the chat here. Chris Sullivan says, did they let go of the rope at the end of the game? No. Let go of the rope for me, that's like what Arkansas football did against Notre Dame. I mean, I know you're saying just at the end of the game, but I think they did get into a point where once they got down 6, I think, and it was under a minute and you missed that next shot, it was, okay, we don't have time to run anything. We're trying to panic hurry into some shots and stuff. So there was almost like it wasn't time for execution. I don't think they played particularly well at the end of the game, but no letting go of the rope. I'm sure they were frustrated. There was a point there with 40 seconds or so left where you're going to play it out for sure. Hope that you hit a big shot and can force a quick turnover or something. But the writing was pretty much on the wall at that point.
Yeah, there's a difference between sucking and quitting.
I think that's a better way to put it. Yeah,
I would say Brazil kind of getting that little last steal and drawing the foul. Like, he at least, they at least attempted to make plays. Were they playing with their hair on fire? Probably not. But I definitely didn't think they like quit. I think they just didn't execute. Duke made plays. Arkansas didn't. That's kind of it.
Yeah, no doubt. Our buddy Dre, we appreciate the super chat, and now we can actually dive into this a little bit more. He said if the refs called half the Boozer's leading arm, elbow, or push off, he would be fouled out in the first half.
Dude,
it was absurd.
How many times did an Arkansas player come away after he would make a bucket and they would look at the ref and they would be like, hey, yo, something here.
Every time he floored it from the top of the key, he was full extension on the push-offs. Every time he set a pick, he was sticking that knee out or getting the elbow extended and popping somebody with it. When he had the back-to-back post, Nick Pringle fouled out of this game because of getting hooked by Cam Boozer 5 times. Mm-hmm. Like it was pretty incredible what he was able to get away with. And then on top of that, I don't know if you saw my tweet. I felt pretty good about this, but you remember how irritated we would get in that Sweet 16 game against Gonzaga with Drew Timme. And it was like, does this dude get 15 pivot feet? Like, he's just allowed to move his feet in there as much as he wants, sit in the lane as much as he wants. And Boozer, because I don't want to take too much away from him, dude is awesome. Like, he's really, really good. I mean, you're 6'9", 250. There was a possession in the second half that they scored on where he was the pick and roll ball handler and set a pick and roll and scored in the same possession. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. The dude is an absolute monster. But so when you combine what he's capable of doing with allowing him to do whatever the hell he wants, and that means being overly physical, get away with some cheap ones with the elbows and the hooks, get to use 4 pivot feet in there. He is literally unguardable. The only thing Arkansas could have done differently, and I felt like they were just at some point saying, we're just going to live or die with these one-on-one matchups here, which I'm not crazy about because he was winning it every single damn time. They didn't double enough for my liking. I know it's a situation where he's such a good passer that he can spray it out and knock it down. But when he scored 11 times in a row, maybe we try something a little bit different or just do a better job of denying. I know it's easier said than done, but I feel like Arkansas, especially when Trevin was on him, they were just a little bit too content with just playing behind him and letting him catch on the block. And it's barbecue chicken. There's nothing you can do about that.
It felt like every Cam Boozer miss was also rebounded by Duke. I felt like there was at least 3 times where it's like they like you said, they let the one-on-one matchup play out and you get a good bounce and then it just goes to someone else and it's an easy bucket. Or, it goes right back to him and he tips out and it's a kick out 3 and it's like, oh man. So it's like those were backbreakers. That was another thing. Points, second chance points in the first half. I think both teams had a similar amount of offensive rebounds. Duke kind of pulled away there in the second half, but in the first half, Duke had like 16 first or second chance points, and Arkansas only had 2 or 3. And it was like Arkansas wasn't able to actually convert on their offensive rebounds, and Duke, it felt like, converted on every single one.
35 points on 13 of 18 from the field is, that's just absurd. That's crazy work right there. And the other thing that I was thinking about, I know some of the guys had foul trouble. Trevin didn't really for a majority of this game. There would have come a point in time for me where I'm looking at Boozer and, he was shooting like 50% from the free throw line up until the very end. I'm not giving him any cheap and ones. Like, I'm hacking the hell out of that dude. I am hacking his ass and saying, hey, go to the free throw line and split, and we'll take that at this point. But the little soft, arm check stuff, and he's going to finish through that every time. And then he was in his bag, so he was making like ridiculous, almost like scoop weird shots. The ball's on his forearm, and he's still getting it in. I don't know. It was a frustrating ordeal there for Arkansas.
It's actually kind of frightening the more I think about it, how similar this team is to the Thero-less Razorbacks last year.
Yeah.
Where it's like almost the exact same weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy, man. I was kind of surprised that Arkansas started Pringle on him in the beginning, and I understand why they did, because it seems like Arkansas is super concerned about his physicality. I get it at this point, and so Pringle was able to match that, but he didn't have much for him in other areas. And then I know people were frustrated with some of the and ones and stuff that he got on Pringle, and I get it. Man, there should have been some offensive fouls called in there. I feel like he got the short end of the stick in some areas. Pringle didn't play particularly well in this game. A lot of things he needed to do better, but some of that, I just felt bad for him on some of those whistles. I got to be honest. And then when they put Trevin on him, he was too strong. I thought Trevin did a good job against him, more so on the perimeter. Okay, great. And then for whatever reason, they would go to Carter on him for like one possession. He give up a bucket, and then you get Carter out of there. You switch that matchup. There's no sense in them ever trying to do that whatsoever. Hell, I thought Malik Ewan did a halfway decent job on him outside of the just letting him go coast to coast, unscathed for that transition dunk. But outside of that, I thought all things considered, he did okay on him.
Was Malik Ewan kind of like decent tonight?
He was for stretches.
He wasn't bad out there tonight. I got to be honest with you. I think he was -8 in his 20 minutes. Only had 3 rebounds, but it's like I felt like he was fine in there.
I'll tell you this right now. I did not expect Malik Ewan to be able to play 20 minutes in this basketball game.
No.
Like, so I feel better about him moving forward. I guess if we're looking for silver linings or, things to carry moving on from this, he was really good against Jackson State, and we were like, all right, cool. Everybody was. But I thought he showed more signs here against Duke. And played harder, more consistently, mixed it up in there a little bit more. He's still got a lot that he's got to work on too, but I think it's, he's moving in the right direction. They need him.
If you go back and look at Arkansas's 3 or 4 easiest buckets, I feel like Malik Ewan was involved in them all. Because I felt like he actually was a threat on the offensive end where they would pass the ball to him and he would break down the defense. He would make another quick pass. He had a couple tough finishes in there. It was nice because that's the thing we've always said with Malik Ewan. If you're going to be kind of a shaky defender, you have to at least be threatening the opponent and making them work on the other end. I was happy he at least did that.
Yeah, me too. I'm sure we're going to have some more discussion on the Cam Boozer stuff, by the way. But Rod Neal, we appreciate the super chat. He said Knox left his game in last season. I mean, it's hard to deny at this point. I know he's had 2 double-doubles in 3 games. But would they come against UCA and Jackson State, right? Like the 2 worst teams that you played this season. Against Michigan State, it was a no-show. Against Duke here, it was a no-show. You just can't have that if you're Arkansas, because that was one of the guys that you expected to really be able to lean on. Hell, we were coming into the year before we knew the freshmen were good, but we didn't know how dynamic they were capable of being. A lot of us thought Carter was going to be Arkansas's best player. That guy who's going to make the huge sophomore leap and could be a first-round pick. And there's a lot of season left to go, but he hasn't looked like that so far, especially in these big moments. And it's one thing to struggle a little bit for me. It's one thing if your shot's just not falling, but you're impacting the game in other ways. But Arkansas, in my opinion, was just flat out significantly better with him not out there in both of these games. And that's concerning to me. So again, like it's early in the season, so we don't want to just cast anyone aside. We can be frustrated about it. And we were with Malik Ewan. We kept saying, well, you just got to keep working at it and figuring it out. And that's the case with Carter. But am I starting to grow increasingly concerned about that? I don't know how you wouldn't.
Yeah, for sure. Before I say what I'm about to say, I want to clarify that I am not doing the thing where I'm just chalking Carter's struggles up to injury, because I don't think he's injured at this point. I think he's fully healthy. But I want to ask you, Curtis, between him and Nelly Davis last year, who practiced more in the offseason? Because I don't think either of those guys really practiced much before the season started. Because Carter was banged up seemingly the entire summer. We were always wondering, why is Carter not on campus? Why is he not in the practice picks? Have we seen any? There was a while where we were like on the hunt, and it was the same thing with Nelly. Nelly, of course, eventually found his groove, and I wonder if not being able to practice, not being able to be in true game shape, and then you get back out there, I wonder if that maybe plays a little bit of a role.
I mean, it's got to be something, right? And it's probably a combination of things. I think that has something to do with it. He was also the last guy to get on campus, aside from, Paolo and Elmer at the end of the summer or whatever, but he was going through the draft process and he took it right up to the deadline. And then it was another week before he was on campus. To your point, he took some time and was away from campus for a little bit after that. And he's been banged up some. He missed time in the preseason or whatever with the turf toe or the toe sprain, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of that's been in there. And so I think that could impact some of it. I think it's also maybe he's behind on reps that he's getting comfortable playing with these guys. And because he looks lost out there sometimes. When Carter plays well this season, it's because he's creating his own opportunities. And what I mean by that is he's making plays defensively and he gets the ball in his hand. He's crashing the boards like a madman. And that's how he gets his touches. It's hustle plays, it's effort plays, but he hasn't really figured it out within the flow of the game, playing with A-Cuff and, this particular team. And I mean, sometimes they can get some advantageous stuff when he's able to play at the 4 and you can attack a matchup, but they haven't been getting a whole hell of a lot of that. And this just was not the game for it. So I think Cal was put in a position here where he was like, all right, we got to keep Trevin in this game as much as possible. And we're probably going to have to go with 2 bigs. That means I got to go with Carter or Billy at the 3. And Billy was just flat out better. So sit and watch, brother.
Aside from horrible live ball turnovers, that is Billy's. He's traded in a slightly improved 3-point shot for he's just going to make 3 god awful turnovers every single
turnovers,
game.
Man. And that's what's the Billy we all know and love. Creates these chaos plays that can just shift momentum for good or bad.
I will say, we talked earlier about needing things you could just go into every matchup knowing what you're getting. Billy is kind of the only example of that, frankly. Besides maybe Darius Acuff, who, by the way, we haven't talked much about it. It's crazy that it's not really going to be a big storyline coming out of this game, but Darius Acuff just casually had 21 points on 8 of 17 in a huge game against Duke, was basically
Yeah.
the best guard on the floor.
Hit 4 threes, 5 assists to 1 turnover. He was really good. I think he missed his first 3 shots or something too, and then he was cooking after that.
And dude, Arkansas never got foul calls when they were driving towards the rim.
No.
There were a couple times where Darius finished tough. Him and Malik both, I thought, finished tough. And I'm like, they like went into it trying to get a foul, like just kind of one of those, hey, let's just go in, get to the foul line. And they just were not even getting close to whistles.
Arkansas tell me how Arkansas only shoots 11 free throws in a game that was this physical. That's crazy to me. And not blaming the refs for the loss or whatever, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it wasn't a big factor in what was going on. That's dang, man, that's irritating. Okay, moving along here. JMCCLU19 says, is the offensive player not allowed to hook and clear out with the offhand? I thought that was a foul in the past. Cam Boozer did a lot of things that he was not supposed to be able to do, and he got away with it. That is called the superstar treatment, my friends. Remember when Arkansas used to play John Calipari's Kentucky teams, and they always had that guy who was getting away with everything? Remember what Oscar Tshiebwe was able to get away with there in the paint? The roles have reversed. Like the tides have turned on Cal, and Arkansas got the business in that standpoint from Cam Boozer tonight. He wasn't the only one doing it either, by the way. Like the Kamenia kid was doing it every time he put it on the floor. Mini Boozer was doing it every time he was coming off of a pick and roll. All those guys were getting fully extended, the push-offs, slapping dudes in the face. I was like, it's kind of crazy, man. But the stuff with Cam was just egregious, in my opinion.
Yeah, you use the term superstar calls, and it's the 100% right term, and it makes it sound, when people hear that, they probably think it's just, refs see a star player and want to give him calls. Well, it's that, but it's also those players also know exactly what to do to get certain calls. They also know what they're allowed to get away with, Like I would argue that if you're a big man that has good footwork, that means you know how to travel without getting it called. You know how to kind of play around the rules. And I think Cam Boozer, not to give him like all the credit here, but I do think he's one of those guys who kind of knows specific things he can do, knows what motions get called and what don't. And the refs, he had him eating out of the palm of his hand today, man. He had him, every call that needed to be made, it went his way. And listen, I am giving him credit for that. I really am.
Yes.
But also it's like, it's hard not to notice in a game like this, especially when that was their entire offense.
Arkansas shoots 11 free throws tonight. Cam Boozer shoots 11 free throws tonight. Anyway, moving on. Cash Reeves says Hogs aren't losing again in the non-conference. I hope you're right.
I will say this. So Houston would be the team that I think would have an issue with you saying this. And they're probably the team that like, you got to really convince yourself that, that they're good and they are going to be tough. And I think I even texted you a few days ago and said, there's no way Arkansas beats them. But they've had some kind of shaky outings.
They have.
They're not unbeatable.
They're not full throttle Kelvin Sampson Houston yet in terms of like just being crazy on the offensive glass and so tough and gritty. Like they're working, I think 3 freshmen through their rotation. They got a couple of those guys starting right now. So yeah, they're still a little bit of a work in progress for sure. Texas Tech struggling a little bit. They got 30 piece by Purdue. And so they're really trying to figure some stuff out, but they've got a Cam Boozer type player at the 4 in JT Toppin that Arkansas is going to have to contend with. So they've got to figure that out. Louisville is an interesting one to me because they can go on these stretches where they can hit 23s on you in a game. And when they do that, they're going to beat anybody that they play. But you got them in Bud Walton Arena, and it should be a lively crowd and everything that should give Arkansas an advantage. They need to win this game against Louisville. Yeah. If they lose to Louisville, I will start not like, oh my God, we're screwed, but I'll definitely start talking more about, sounding some mini alarms of, okay, this is only cool when it comes to playing all these teams. If you beat one of them, it's not getting easier from here. What are we doing? So we'll see what it looks like, man. But you very well could be right. If Arkansas is just able to get a little bit more consistent, sustain some of these stretches that they played tonight where they just looked really, really good out there, and just start executing some in winning time. And that's what's going to happen when you got 2 freshman guards in there. But that I'm almost more frustrated about that than anything. It just looked, hey man, just like give me the rock and I'm just going to take a terrible shot and we'll see what happens here. It didn't look good from Arkansas in the final 3 minutes. And I know any BBN folks in here or Kentucky folks are in here, they have seen this play out 100 times early in seasons. We were told about it before. They would play in, the Jimmy V Classic or, whatever. And they'd be in these big games and they play well, and then they would lose late. And people would be like, gosh, man, it just didn't look good down the stretch. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. The good thing is most of those teams wound up being really damn good.
Curtis, how many times did Arkansas step on the baseline or the sideline or whatever? Like just step out of bounds, not being forced there?
At least 3.
I was going to say it's either 3 or 4, which, isn't like the end of the world on the grand screen, but it's like when you're in a game that is decided by single-digit possessions, you really can't have unforced turnovers that could be – I mean, even if you – like Muss always says, I would rather you take a bad shot than turn the ball over, literally, because we can maybe rebound that bad shot or, maybe it goes in, whatever. You just cannot have in a game that's like this, you cannot have completely unforced turnovers. It'd be one thing, and the first one with Carter, they at least forced him baseline, and he shouldn't have stepped out, but it's like they at least kind of contributed to it. But like Trevins was literally just like, catch the ball in the wing, you're wide open, I step my foot back and I'm out of bounds. It's like that. Like we are in a game that is decided by inches. We cannot be just that careless. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that stuff is so frustrating. It's like you've been playing on basketball courts your entire life. Have some awareness out there. Understand where the baseline is. Carter's the absolute worst about that. Every time I see him catch the ball in the corner, a defender is closing out on him with his foot on the baseline, and he still tries to drive it baseline. I'm always like, what the hell are you doing? And it's an offensive foul, or he leaves his feet and turns it over, or he steps out of bounds. It's every single time he catches in those spots. I'm just like, what are we doing, brother? Okay, so actually, I think we have a clip of this exact
let's talk
thing
about
that we're talking about. Shout out to John. So we'll play some of these and get Cal's reaction, and then we'll get back into the chat here. But speaking of stepping out of bounds, way too many times in this basketball game, sounds like Cal had something to say about that.
Bounce, Turner, are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about stepping your feet out? We talk about it all the time. In practice, we're talking about it. No, it's a good question. Like, guys, you won't believe this. The court's so big, and if you step your foot into the first row, you're out of bounds. So you got to, if you're in that corner, you don't have a whole lot of space behind you. But again, we had 12 turnovers in a game where, and we get out rebounded by 8. But
okay. Yeah, I mean, you know what that reminds me of? Do you remember that Baylor player in the NCAA tournament? They got popped by, like, I don't know, it was like Yale or Princeton or something. And the guy was like, how does that team get more rebounds than you?
No. Is Tayshaun Prince the Detroit Piston?
It's not him, though.
Yeah, not Tayshaun Prince. Something.
Torian Prince. He's like, well, you jump in the air and you grab the ball with both hands. And that's, I kind of feel like that's how Cal is right here. It's like the court is the same size anywhere that you go. You know how big your feet are. You know how much room you have. If you step out of bounds, that is a turnover. Like, don't do that. It's crazy that they have to have that conversation. I mean, what the hell are you going to say outside of what he just said, I
mean, dude, like 90% of basketball, you have to work for every bucket. You have to work for every pass. You have to defend everything. But there's going to be that little 10% where you get a wide open dunk, or where there's a rotation and nobody goes and you just get a wide open gimme, or you get a unforced turnover that you didn't even force that just gets in your hand. You can't have that 10% be like 9% bad for you. Yeah. And that's what it seems like in some of these Arkansas games. It's like when we're just playing back and forth, it's 50-50, but we make 8 really bad, stupid decisions that you had no bearing on. And that's pretty much what dictates the game.
Yes, I would agree with that. I see here in the queue that we've got some words from Cal on Carter Knox and DJ Wagner being non-existent in this game. So I want to play that one because I am curious to see what he has to say about this, because if it was me coaching this basketball team, I can live with, my freshmen still got to figure some things out and grow up with, in some ways. And we didn't do a great job on Cam Boozer. We got to figure that out. But two of your most reliable guys just not showing up for you has got to be frustrating, and it's becoming a little bit of a habit with one of them. So let's see what he has to say about DJ and Carter.
No, I don't think so. I mean, again, we talked before this game about be a finisher and rebound like crazy. That's all you need to worry about. Be a finisher. When you get that ball, get to that rim, and then rebound both offensively and defensively. Be that guy. Now, the other guy kind of goes in and does that, Billy. And so when you're looking, and Billy had it going, and today the other guys had it going, and that's why DJ didn't play as much. But it's, I know who DJ is a player, and I respect him and love him as a player, love coaching him. But look, when you're coaching, sometimes the way the game goes, somebody plays more and somebody plays less. Next game, it may be somebody else. Maybe Carter plays more and Billy plays less. But yeah, we had our chance to win. You could say this guy, that guy. We had our chance. And when we 2 or 3 plays in a row and they went straight where they went, and we didn't answer.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You didn't. What's interesting to me is it seems like Cal he's been pretty vocal about what he wants his freshmen to improve on and the things that he's talking to them about all the time. He's been pretty vocal about his big guys and them needing to rebound, grab more balls, as he loves to say. You got to grab more balls. Malik Ewan's got to play harder. He does all those things. I guess I'm not saying throw anybody under the bus. I don't want him to do that, but I'm a little bit surprised there wasn't more of a, hey, yeah, we need Carter to be better. He's right. Like if Billy's giving you more out there, then he's going to play more or whatever. But maybe that's like an approach thing. Everybody responds to things a little bit differently, right? Maybe Carter's not a guy who would respond well to, getting called out or whatever. But so maybe that's it. But I've got to imagine that that's something that's sticking in his craw right now. It's like, man, we really thought that we had something here, and he's got to be so much better in games like this.
I also think there's something to the like mental side of Carter as a freshman was a rotational piece on a good team where it was just, hey, go in, do all the scrappy, hard stuff. And honestly, that's the same role he has for this team, and he just needs to do it better. But I wonder if this offseason of being, hey, you might be going to the NBA. Oh, you might be the SEC player of the year. Oh, you're coming back. A lot of people think, hey, this, like you said, we think he might be the best player on the team. I wonder if that maybe got into Carter's psyche a little bit. Maybe it got into his stratosphere, and he's all of a sudden like, oh man, like maybe I need to be a little bit more. And so maybe that's why he's so maybe that's why he feels so disconnected. I really don't know. Maybe it's a combination of that and the injury. Maybe it's just all of the above. But man, it feels like this time last year we were having a very similar conversation about a younger Carter Knox who had not proved it yet. And so now that we're talking about the Carter Knox who has proved it to an extent, I'm a lot more confident. But man, it is frustrating and it is annoying. I just didn't think, 3 months ago, I just did not think we would be having these kind of conversations about a guy who, frankly, I thought we might be having a conversation about, is he a first-round pick? Now I'm like, shit, we're going to get 4 years of Carter Knox.
Yeah, exactly. Year 3 Carter. He can join the other 15 wings that are going to be on this roster. It's going to be old school Eric Musselman basketball. He's got 5 guys who are 6'6" and athletic. So looking forward to that. Hypothetical shooters. That's right. Okay, a couple more clips that we'll play here from Cal, and then we'll get back into our chats. But I see one here about how the Hogs gave the game away, and then another about whether or not Cal saw some growth from the Razorbacks. Let's see about giving the game away.
They weren't. They're top team. You get up. You need to ask them. How did you get down 7, 10? How did that happen? I mean, you're playing basketball, and there's swings in the game, but when you look back, did they offensive rebound in that stretch? Did you stop them and they still got a basket? Did you miss an open shot? These kids aren't machines and they're not robots. Stuff happens. Do you get down? Last year, we were giving up 20-point leads, and all of a sudden it came down to the last shot.
I don't have a response to that, I don't think.
No, me either.
Yeah, let's just play the other one. I'm going to start getting mad and saying some shit that I don't need to say. So let's let him make us happier about seeing some growth in the guys tonight.
Yeah, both of the games, on the road at Michigan State, Everybody's figuring out they're better than everybody thought, and we had our chance to win that game. We had our chance to win this game. And we know how good they are. And I still, like I'm telling our guys, we're fine. I got a good group. They were more connected today than they've been, which is why we were able to play the way we played.
Agreed.
Now it's okay. How do you get separation? We got it to 7. When you get that separation, how do you start putting people away? Normally it'll come down to defense and rebounding, and then making easy plays on offense and putting more pressure on their offense to make baskets. But if you give them a missed shot, an offensive rebound, come down, bad shot, throw it ahead, make a 3, we're still learning. I mean, but look, the kids fought. They didn't like they didn't. And so.
Yeah, I mean, he's right.
And there's also something too, like, we see this happen every year in college basketball where there's that team that has like 12 losses, and you can kind of look at their record and say, oh, they're 16-12, but it's like, no, that team's dangerous. Like, that team's been in some wars. They usually have a net of whatever that's really high. I'm not saying Arkansas is shaping up to be that team. And by the way, I don't want to be that team. I don't want to have 12 losses. I want to start learning with wins, but I do think there is something too, like, you lose a game to a good team, it's not time for you to re-examine the way you do everything. It's just time for you to get better. And so I do hope that that's the lesson here, is like, everything you guys want to accomplish, it's right here. Like, you very easily, our plan and the way we wanted to do things was good enough to beat Duke. We just didn't execute it well enough to beat them. I hope that the players aren't getting super discouraged and are like, oh crap, we have to just go back to the drawing board and we have to just start from square one. It's like, no, you're good and you're in a good spot. You just have to smell that blood in the water every now and then and go get it. You just have to be in a 2-point game with 3 minutes left and play well down the stretch. Like, I'm just hoping that through all these learning experiences, they're getting a little bit more antsy, a little bit more angry, a little bit more pissed off that they don't have one of those cool, shiny wins.
The agenda's building. The allegations are coming. Arkansas always almost wins.
They do. Well, and like, listen, it's something that you can look at and say that's a good thing because, we're almost right there at some of the best teams in the country. So if we just get better, we'll be right there. It's also something that, like, until you get that good win, you can't feel super comfortable. You can't feel super proud. You can't feel too good about it. And so we all know, like, we don't have to explain it to you guys. Like, it's not time to panic, but it's like, it is also time to be like, you can't really get too much excitement about this team. Like, we can't be talking our crap and being like, how are we ranked here? How are we number 11 in the power rankings? It's like, dude, go win a game and then we'll talk.
Win a damn game. Yeah, exactly. Your best win right now is Winthrop.
Congratulations. Win though, Curtis.
Yeah. So when the net rankings come out Monday or whenever it is, and Arkansas is like 54th, don't get mad. This is why they're close. They're going to be fine. But we can't be talking about that stuff until they start winning some games. Finch says, haven't seen that kind of glazing since that town knob from the single days. That's crazy. That's wild, Finch. I didn't know you got down like that, man. WooMF Pig says, not sure if I'm more disappointed or drunk. Sorry to the coffee club in advance, as I will be too hung to attend tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving to all. That's wild. What is going on with these super chats, man? Y'all are a horny bunch. Hayden Ulmer says Boozer is allowed to use his elbows every which way he'd like, and he did so.
Yeah,
he did so.
Someone should have taken one for the team and taken a charge on his elbow. Maybe got him a flagrant too.
Yeah, seriously.
Use your face to take the charge on the elbow.
Right.
If you're stood position, you get the flagrant too.
Tuna's House says, impressed with defense and rebounding, but offense struggled and senseless turnovers really hurt. Woo Pig. Happy Thanksgiving, folks. Let's see. Dude. Defense, that's one thing that I'm glad that Cal said it, because I agree. They did seem like they were quite a bit more connected tonight. Now, when it got to nut cutting time, that kind of went out the window. That's probably part of the process, but I would agree with that. I thought some of the rotations were better. They still got in a situation where it was like Duke ran a ball screen 8 straight possessions and got great looks off of it. They still haven't quite figured that out, but to their credit, thought that they made some nice adjustments there. Boozer's it's such a weird and difficult matchup. And I'm not going to say they did a good job on him because he had 35 points in this basketball game, but I thought that I thought it looked better than it has for sure. And this is this is by far the best offensive team that Arkansas has played this year. So rebounding, you were impressed with the rebounding. I thought that they gave better effort on the glass. They still lost there. I will say only 12 offensive rebounds. They were giving up that to like Samford and stuff. So that's nice. I mean, they gave up 19 in that game to Michigan State, which was crazy. The problem was the 25 second chance points that they got off of it. I mean, that's an absolute killer. You said it, like every time Boozer missed, somebody put it back. It was almost every single time. And I mean, if they got 25 points, second chance points off of 12 offensive rebounds, they must have scored on every single one that they got. Damn near.
I mean,
you know what I mean? So that's tough. Offense, yeah. I mean, they had their moments. Not overly efficient. Like they only had 12 turnovers, but I think you're spot on, Tuna, with the senseless ones. Foot on the baseline, foot on the sideline. Billy, what are you doing? Who are you throwing the basketball to? Some of that stuff is crazy there. Just very untimely turnovers for Arkansas. They shot 40% in the game, 10 of 30 from three. That's a lot of threes, but they weren't getting anything done around the rim. They don't really have a whole lot going on offensively around the rim. That's going to be something this team has to figure out a little bit. But yeah, 17 assists isn't a bad number in a game like this. Let's see. Yeah, exclusive card. You're absolutely right. Boozer shot as many free throws as our whole team shot. Yes. Arkansas and Cam
exclusive
Boozer.
cards in a minute.
I know. Good to see you. They both shot 11 free throws in this game. Good grief. It's Lanky. Says no turkey trot after tonight, but we will be fine. Yeah, no turkey trot, no peacocking. We can all just shut the hell up and take our L. Better
Hey,
luck.
we're in our learning mode right now. You know?
Exactly. Stephen Limley says half-court offense was better, rebounding still a problem. The thing I'm upset about is spacing and the calls. That when Arkansas figured it out in the second half and came back from that deficit and wound up getting a 7-point lead, I would agree. I thought they were running some good stuff. Actually, the ball wasn't sticking. Some movement. It was good, and they were creating some good looks there. So better than it has been. Still a long way to go. Really, for me right now, it's just doing that when the game gets tight, and in crunch time, that's something they're struggling with. Yes, on rebounding. Spacing at times gets a little frustrating. Duke is just part of that's Duke. By the way, they're a really good defensive team, and they're so long. I mean, they were huge in there. 6'9", 6'11", 6'6", 6'5", whatever that starting lineup is. It's just arms everywhere, and so that makes it look like your spacing is poor because they've always got somebody in there in the lane. But Arkansas, the ceiling is still very high, but some guys will need to learn how to play a supporting role rather than a lead. Knox, DJ, and Ewan. Also, defensive intensity needs to go up. Duke's perimeter defense is elite. Yeah, their perimeter defense is really good. Defensive intensity for Arkansas was up and down. Like there were times where it was really affecting Duke right out of the gates in the game, early in the second half. But then it's almost like Duke makes one momentum play, one momentum shot, and then it's almost guaranteed for the next 2 minutes, Arkansas is going to look completely lost out there. It's so weird how that kept happening.
I mean, it's a game of runs, we always say, and the runs that really stuck out. I mean, Arkansas made theirs to start the second half, but like the two runs, that initial one early where Duke just builds a 10-point lead out of nowhere. I mean, Arkansas had been leading the entire time, up 12-5, and then you kind of settle in, you're trading baskets, 20-22. All of a sudden, you just go, boom, 10-0. Like you said, one good play, they're off and running. Arkansas is calling timeout. And then down the stretch, I mean, when you want to make your big run with 3:30, that's when Duke made their big one. I will say, defensively, there was a stretch where, because obviously Arkansas starts off pretty good. I mean, it was 12-5. I don't know what minute marker that was, but the first 5 or 6 minutes, Duke didn't have much going on. And then they, had like, I think I saw a stat that they finished 14 of 21 in the first half. Like they had a stretch where it was like, oh, they had figured it out. And so part of me was like, oh crap, Did it just take them a few minutes to figure out, and they're about to just score 100 here? So I like that Arkansas did, like you said, they fluctuates, but that they had a response to that of, oh, okay, well, we can turn up that intensity. We can play hard for a while. But right now, Arkansas is just not in a spot. And I don't know, and maybe it's conditioning. Maybe it's just mindset. I don't know. Arkansas is not a 40-minute full intensity team.
Nope.
They just aren't. And by the way, I that's easier said than done. It's really hard to get a team to be focused for 40 minutes. Arkansas just definitely is like nowhere near there right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Stephen Limley says, do you think part of the strategy with the schedule is that since we played these Q1 games in season that it could make the matchups easy potentially in March? Like testing yourself early. I mean, Arkansas is going to be prepared for March anyway, playing in the SEC. But it's good to get these games. It's good to have these Q1 games. I think that your team learns a hell of a lot more from these and gets better from playing these, even if you lose, than playing Winthrop or playing UCA or whatever. So I'm glad they're doing this. And, I think reasonable minds didn't expect Arkansas to go 5-0 in these really difficult games here. Now that you've lost the first two, there's just more pressure on you to grab a couple of them. They need to, if they win 2 out of these last 3 tough ones here in the non-conference, they're in an incredible spot going into league play.
For sure. And it's a balance too, where it's like, obviously you play a tough game, you win or lose, and you say, man, that was really effective. That was really good for our team. We needed that. So why don't we just schedule all hard games? Well, then good luck playing with confidence. Good luck going into conference play with any confidence if you're constantly being tested. So there is a balance of like, you need to kind of find your identity and rhythm as a team. You also need to be tested a little bit. And so I think Arkansas, honestly, in the first 7 games of the season has had a nice balance of that where, they've had some easy tests, had some tough tests, had some tests that were harder than they thought. And we'll see where they're at. But I think now is an important time. You got to start putting it into practice. You've learned your lessons. Start applying them to games and seeing some progress.
Yeah. And Arkansas doesn't need to do this, and Razorback fans don't need to do this. And I don't need to do this, but I do, because I do the SEC power rankings every week. But I just, I feel a little bit more itchy about it all because I saw Auburn beat up on St. John's, and I've seen Alabama get all these big wins, and I saw Tennessee go beat Houston, and I saw Texas beat the Fighting Will Wades. It's like, so now all of a sudden you're seeing a bunch of these SEC teams, and it doesn't matter because it's early, but they're getting those signature wins. They're getting some momentum. They're starting to figure it out, and it's translating to wins. And both these games Arkansas has lost have been very difficult challenges, but they don't have one yet. And so I'm like, all right, now's about that time. So it's just get it done at home on Wednesday. And I think we're all feeling really, really good about where Arkansas is at. Dre says, I think we're better than we were last year. And we started off bad last year, and we were a rebound away from an Elite 8. I am excited about this team. I agree that Arkansas is better than they were last year. And I do think they're further along right now than they were at this time last year. I do agree with all those things. The schedule is a little bit more unforgiving, so you got to keep that in mind. They have different challenges this year. My biggest thing about it, though, is I hope that they figure it out quicker, because I really don't want to do the let's piss around the entire regular season and then figure it out thing. And because I think this team is too good for that. And they had high expectations coming into the year, as they should have. And it's not that they haven't met them yet, but do we really want to do the thing again where Arkansas is like 500 in the SEC and it takes them until Valentine's Day to start to figure it out, and you got a shitty seed in the tournament? This felt like a team that has the potential to really have a memorable season and do some crazy things. I'm not saying they can't, but I would like for a change for Arkansas just to have a really good year, not a dang, they were good in March kind of situation. Still very well within the realm of possibility, obviously, but right now after these 2 losses, you're just like, okay, you gotta figure some things out, boys.
It goes without saying that if Arkansas goes to the Final Four, I don't care how they got there. Like, I will not be looking back at these games and being like, whatever. So it's like, clearly I'll accept it, but I'm all about not moving the goalposts. And so while it is true that losing these games and not getting these wins now doesn't disqualify you from figuring it out and playing well down the stretch. And honestly, I'm not saying Arkansas is going to go to the Final Four. Like, I expect it. Like, I still am very firm that Arkansas is going to be a good team. But going into this season, if I told y'all they were going to start off 0-2 in the Michigan State and Duke games, I'm not saying you would have disagreed, but like you would have been like, I don't love that. Like then they really need to beat Louisville, and so that's kind of where I'm at. Like like we were not going into these tough games and saying, well, it's okay if Arkansas just, goes 1-4 in this stretch. It's okay if we start off and we're, 10-7 in January. Like we did not say that preseason, so I'm not going to say it now. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if they adjust and play well down the stretch, we'll gladly throw all this out the window. But until they do it, like I'm not going to be happy.
Sure. And let me ask you this real quick. Do you feel better about this one than you did Michigan State? I know at the top you said you felt somewhat similar. Me, after Michigan State, I felt like Arkansas played poorly and narrowly lost a game that they probably should have won. And hey, Michigan State's turned out to be really good, but I still feel that way. This one, I don't feel like Arkansas played poorly. In fact, I thought they played well in certain areas. It was just like key moments, critical junctures, and there was one thing that you just couldn't figure out in Cam Boozer. So like I do walk away from it a little bit more optimistic that they are trending in the right direction. It just hasn't translated to winning the big game just yet.
For everything you just said is why, like, after the Michigan State game, if you had asked me in that moment, I would have been like, if these two teams play tomorrow, Arkansas wins, like without a doubt. Because I thought they, like you said, they played poor. I thought they could have played better. And of course, Michigan State's better than we thought. In the moment, I didn't realize they were as good as they were, if I'm just being honest with you.
Same.
So it frankly has changed a little bit in my mind, where I look back at that and I say, you know what, that was actually a pretty solid performance. Like, I'm not going to piss and moan too much about it. Duke, I don't feel that way, where like if these two teams play tomorrow, I know I said it'd be a 40-minute game. I'm not confident of like, oh yeah, if we play tomorrow, we'd beat them. Like I honestly don't feel that way. And I agree that they didn't play poorly in this game. They just didn't play well enough to win. All of that to say, knowing what I know and looking at it in hindsight, I feel better about the Michigan State game, but I'd be lying if I said I felt that way in the moment. Like I feel better now than I did in that moment against Michigan State, especially because it was my freaking birthday and they ruined it.
Yeah, that's also true. I see what you're saying there. That makes sense. 7-game series, Arkansas and Duke. How does it go?
Duke wins in 6.
I think so too.
They win in Arkansas. They win in Bud Walton game 6 to clinch it.
Yeah, I would say Duke in 6. I think Arkansas would win a couple tight games that they get over the hump in, and I think they get their ass beat by like 25 in one of them.
I'll tell you exactly how the series is going to roll, Curtis. Arkansas loses the first 2 games at Duke, and they're close in both, and they're right there. They lose both. They beat the piss out of them game 3 in Bud Walton Arena. Like they just have the overcorrection. We need a win, back against the wall. And then I think they grind out an ugly win in Bud Walton for game 4, lose to Duke in game 5, lose game 6 in Bud Walton. That's exactly how the series goes.
I think so. Sorry, folks.
Don't debate me. It's right.
Okay, still rolling through these super chats. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us on. I mean, this is literally a holiday. Like it's Thanksgiving night, and your favorite team just, lost a game on national television that you're frustrated with the officials and everything else. So I appreciate everybody for being here, and I just feel like, hell with this. I'm going to bed, or I'm going to get drunk. Maybe you're doing all those things at once here. But Sharkensaw says, my last take is if you're going to let Boozer get away with what he did tonight, there isn't a team in the country that can stop him. 1,000% agree with this assessment. The thing about Boozer is it pisses me off a little bit for him, because he is going to wind up getting that mantra. It's not going to matter to scouts and everything like that, but like around the country with fan bases are going to be like, oh man, this dude's he's a hack and everything like that. He gets the superstar treatment. He doesn't need it to be very effective. He was going to get his anyway tonight, but I'm with you, man. With his skill set and the versatility that he has, the things that he can do out there, combined with just being allowed to do whatever the hell you want, I don't know what you do with that unless you have somebody similarly physically gifted, and Arkansas just doesn't have that, man. They got some guys who can impact him in different ways, but he's so well-rounded that he can just take advantage of the weaknesses. He did it with Trevin with the physicality. He did it with Pringle with his athleticism out there, and is what it is.
Well, Curtis, you remember early in the week you said, man, I think they should try and force him into being a jump shooter, because he can kind of fall into that of like falling in love with the jump shot. They should force him to take shots. Starts off, just bangs 2 threes right off the bat, which people just don't understand. Like when someone who, I know Cam Boozer is a very capable shooter. He's gonna knock down a ton of threes in his career. when someone that you're worried is going to beat you at the rim knocks down a three, it just puts you in such a pretzel. Like, that is the worst place to be in as a defender, because now the next down the court, you're like, damn, do I overcorrect? Do I make them shoot again? Like, what? It's just the worst place to be, and it's such a tone setter. I would say it's the same way with Trevin Brazile. When Trevin Brazile makes a three, every single opponent that we play is like, holy crap, like, that's I don't like that.
Yeah, that's very true. And I also want to give Duke's guards some credit, because it's one thing to, all right, let's just try to make Boozer a perimeter player or whatever. He's so strong that he's just going to put it on the floor and drive into your chest and get a call or bully you. And he did that to Arkansas in this game. But they did a real good job of getting him to his spots inside the arc through the pick and roll, through the dribble handoff. And once Arkansas started to adjust to that, that's when they started making some plays defensively and getting some stops and getting on their run. And then Duke's guards adjust and they go, okay, they're paying so much attention to Boozer here that I can just come off this ball screen and turn the corner and get into the lane. And they started doing that. And then they were hitting the little floaters or getting to the rim, or then it's a kick out. And then they'd mix in a pick and pop with Boozer and he'd catch you in a closeout and drive by you. They executed really well in a lot of ways when they needed to in that game. So I do want to give him credit for that. But dude's good, man. Exclusive carts. He says, I feel like they should have doubled Boozer more. TB got in his head a little there for a while, and the double team rattled him some. Yeah, it looked okay at times when they did it. And I agree, Trevin had some moments in there where I thought he did a nice job on him down the stretch. It was just some of it's fatigue. And, some of it I was kind of wondering, if Arkansas maybe could have tried some things. You can bring those doubles from different areas. Like there was one time they tried to bring it weak side from Pringle, and it was just late, and Pringle was kind of under the rim anyway, and he fouled him. That's not going to do you a whole hell of a lot of good. You can bring it from the perimeter, like have one of your guards dig down, but it depends on where the entry pass comes from. You know what I mean? Because you can't leave Isaiah Evans to go down there and double, because that's going to be an automatic rhythm three. So it's tricky, but yes, when he's just scoring touch after touch after touch, and they continue to go to him over and over and over, and you're just doing the same thing, it makes you wonder, oh, maybe you consider trying something else. I don't know. So did you think that they were eventually going to call an offensive foul? They weren't. Let's see. Trey says, there you go. And this is true. Cam Boozer picked up his first foul with less than 5 minutes left in the game, and he ended with 2. How is that? I don't know, man.
That's a tough one. I also think Arkansas, in hindsight, got to make him work way more defensively. And I don't even remember. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm sure there's some plays I can find, but I just can't remember Cam Boozer playing any defense tonight. I don't remember him being involved in defensive plays.
Trevin hit both of his threes because Boozer was lazy to close out on him. But outside of that, they didn't really challenge him. They didn't drive it on him much. They didn't take it to him in the post, but who's going to do it? You know what I mean? Nick Pringle? No, that's not going to happen. So is he worried about Darius Acuff driving on him? No. So it's tough, man. Damn it. Thank you, Chris, for gifting an Inside Arkansas membership. We appreciate that. It's good stuff. Whoever got it, congratulations. Paddlefish played great for the first 30, got outscored 27-11 in the last 10. Concerning to see them play well and collapse. Anything specific you saw in the last 10? Yeah, we talked about a lot of that, and appreciate the super chat. I thought it was like you said, Andrew, the typical classic game of runs. Arkansas looked great coming out of the gates. Duke settled in, made a couple adjustments. They got the big lead. Arkansas took the punch and responded, got some momentum coming into halftime. They landed the first punch in the second half. It was a back and forth. So I just think right now Duke is a team that is further along than Arkansas in terms of their togetherness out there on the floor. And I think they just have a better sense of what their identity is, which is get the ball to Cam Boozer and play really, really good defense. And so they were just in a position to execute and make winning plays down the stretch, where Arkansas is still very much in figure it out mode right there. That's what I saw at the end of the game. It was, Billy there at half court, just what the heck are we doing situations. Some of the shots that Arkansas took got a little stagnant in there. You just didn't see that on the other end of the floor for Duke. So
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't even call it concerning, honestly. Like it's irritating that it happened and we know what they've got to fix, but that's also a very common theme for teams in November when you're playing a top 5 squad.
Yeah, I don't think Arkansas is like just a super. I don't think they're in general like a super soft team. I think they're soft in some certain areas. I just don't think they quite have that hair on their chest to where like, it gets to a point in every game, football, basketball, baseball. There's like moments where it's like both teams kind of know, oh crap, the game's about to get decided right here. I don't think our team is currently in a spot where like when that moment arises, they're all looking at each other with a bunch of confidence and they're like, hell yeah, let's get after it here. And I don't think they're like scared. I don't think they're on the sidelines like, oh, what are we going to do? I just think they kind of, I don't know if the intensity in the pressure of it really weighs on them. I don't know if they necessarily like feel that of like, oh, here's the time to rise up. Here's the time to really kick it into gear. I don't know if those conversations just don't happen or if it just kind of, but it does seem like throughout the course of 40 minutes, they just kind of fluctuate a little bit and it doesn't seem to be based on anything.
Yeah, that's well said. That's very well said. I noticed that too. Zachary says 8 to 10 points scored with the hook. Outrageous. Yeah, and Zachary's not talking about a jump hook. So, Robert Hurst, we appreciate the super chat and shout out to intern Cameron for being ready. He says, Boozer got his first foul called with 5:55 left in the game, ended with 2. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy. That's a physical player to not be fouling anyone ever. Stephen Limley says, bonus, Ewan looked really good in this game, which gives me more hope for our potential, like Curtis alluded to, which is good. Now, did I skip? Okay. Did I pull this one up? I don't think I did.
Maybe
I
not.
skipped over it. My apologies. But this is a good time to talk about this with Malik Ewan. So appreciate both you guys. Yes, I thought that Ewan looked pretty decent in this game. He did some good things, made some plays. Still got some stuff that he has to work on, obviously. Razorback Fever says he has to stop celebrating after every basket. I agree. Because twice Arkansas got scored on the other end because he was, I love seeing some emotion out of him because honestly, for the first couple games of the season, Andrew, I was like, does this dude even like to play basketball? Yeah. Like, do you love the game, bro? What's going on here? So he had some huge plays, a big dunk in there a couple times, and it fired me up. You know what I mean? But his celebrations were a little bit long, and then you get beat down the floor in transition, and you're in scramble mode, and Duke scores. And so you can't have that. So, hey, scream and beat your chest, but sprint your ass back in transition, and let's avoid some of that nonsense there for sure. But I'm with you guys. Let's see. Where was I? Here we go. Okay. Brock Davis says, Curtis, how can we get more out of Pringle? You can't. Nick Pringle is who he is, man. This is like his 7th year of college basketball, and he's been about a 6.6 rebound a game type of guy. And I know he didn't get that tonight. What did he finish with?
1 rebound, I know.
3 points and 1 rebound, but he's averaging about 6 and 6 this season. And so you'll have the games where you get 13 and 7 out of him like they did the other night, and you'll have games like this where you don't get too much out of him, and you'll have a whole bunch where he's kind of right where he belongs. And his thing is, being a pretty versatile defender and a physical presence, and he's usually better on the boards than he was tonight, and so that's got to be good. But so far, I think you're getting about what you should have expected from Nick Pringle. And I know he's your starting center and everything, but let me just remind everyone, he wasn't brought here to be that. That was Malik Ewan's job. And so he's still figuring some things out, and maybe he's trending in the right direction. But let me ask you guys this. If Malik Ewan was doing what everybody thought he would, which I'm not saying everybody was like, oh, well, he averaged 15 and 8 at Florida State or whatever it was, he's going to do that here. But I was thinking, oh, he'd give you 10 and 6 or something. You'll be in a good spot, and he'll kind of be your guy that you can run some stuff through. He hasn't been that. And so Pringle's kind of thrust into a larger role than I think than anybody anticipated. And maybe it's eventually going to balance itself back out here if Ewan's trending in the right direction. But I don't know that it's reasonable to expect at this point in his career to get more out of Pringle than he's given from you all season. Now, more than you got from him tonight, of course.
Sure. In terms of tonight, just not being in foul trouble would have probably helped.
Yeah. Again, like I see, he's going to be a hard one to grade in the report card because he didn't do anything. Like you look at the stats, and you're like, well, I mean, my God. And then some of it, I'm just like, I don't know what else he could have done. on some of those defensive opportunities that he was getting whistled for fouls on. It's a frustrating deal. I might just give him a C or something and be like, this is why. He didn't get a
PFF
fair
would give
shake,
him
but he
a
also sucked.
60.0.
Yeah, exactly. Fishman says Duke fans that are talking spit are the most haughty, unself-aware people, literally building up those negative karma points because winning off unfair no call equals BS. Gotcha.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're.
Duke
Listen,
fans get to chirp. They can chirp
Duke,
after winning
and
the
Duke
game.
basketball is the one of the bigger fan bases in sports. So I'd imagine there's a lot of Duke fans here. Thankfully, I haven't seen a ton in the chat. I saw a couple guys pop in and be like, "Ha ha, you suck" or whatever, but nothing crazy. But listen, those are the rules. We play a big game on a big stage on Thanksgiving night. If we had won, we would have been talking our shit.
Oh my God, yeah, no doubt about it. Oh, let's see. Paddlefish says, "Cheer me up, Curtis. I'm in a post-Duke depression." I can't cheer you up. I am in a post-Duke depression, but
this is the Duke post-game show. Frankly, this is the time to get out that post-Duke depression.
All I can say is this is a depression that you should wake up tomorrow and be over. You know what I mean? Like it's not one that should linger with you too long. But if you're upset with how tonight ended, I don't blame you. I mean, it's a great opportunity for Arkansas, and they came up short. You know, they did some good things. I don't like the moral victory stuff. What can you do? It's over. We'll see you Wednesday. You know,
this game is going to be directly determined. Like how we feel about this Duke game is going to be directly determined by what happens Wednesday. If they win against Louisville, this becomes a real moral victory. But if they play poorly and lose against Louisville, then this just becomes another one of those losses that you just dismiss and say, damn, they're not where we want them to be yet. This loss could get worse if you lose on Wednesday. But if you win on Wednesday, it's easy to look back at this and say, you know, there were signs of us kind of being a legit team, and then we showed it Wednesday. Here we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going into this 2-game stretch, I was saying, hey, you obviously want to win both of them, but if you get out of it with a split, you feel great about it. Well, then when you lose the first one, then automatically you're like, of course. Well, you can still win the second one and do exactly.
Now we got to go 1-0.
So, yeah, exactly. Bo says Carter year 3 incoming. Love what TB has given us. Yeah, I don't know. That'll be an interesting thing to see. Like if his season continues to play out like this, and we're going to have some really good Carter games, and we'll probably have some more that were exactly like this one tonight. Hopefully he turns it on and plays better consistently, whatever, figures himself out this season. But it will be interesting to see what that looks like. Where will his stock be at the end of the year? That's a good question. What would he be thinking? Like if the league's not for him yet, would he come back when you've got like your signing class right now is 2 wings? And I don't know, Steely's going to be back for another year. It's way too early to think about those things, but I get it. When you're 7 games in and he hasn't looked like a first round pick just yet, you start to wonder about that stuff. So
certainly. And I mean, like you said, if it continues to go out this way, then yeah, sir. I mean, it becomes very real. I would remind you guys that it's not a meritocracy, which we always think about, where it's like, oh, this guy's not going to get drafted. He sucked this year. It's like, well, if you show the tools that these teams think you have, if he shows them in March, especially, they're not going to care that he sucked on Thanksgiving Day against Duke, frankly.
Yeah, true. Wow. Shout out to Phil for gifting 5 Inside Arkansas memberships. That's really cool. That's big time.
I saw one that celebrated getting one.
I see that Dre got one.
Ah, there you go.
You already had one, but that's cool that you did. We appreciate you anyway. You're good people. And then he turned around and gifted 10 himself. So good grief, folks. That's awesome.
Yeah,
we really appreciate that. Thanksgiving. People are in a giving mood, a thankful giving mood, even after a loss like this. It's good that this happened on this day, now that I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the time to give, and shout out to y'all, man, for real. That's awesome.
For sure. We just got a few more, and then we'll call it a night here. Bo says, of the non-con games left, what record do you need to see to feel confident moving forward? It would depend on how they look in the process, but 2-1 for me. Or you're saying the big games. So what they've got They played 7, so they've got 6 left. 5-1.
You can only lose one more. You can
Yeah.
if you lose 2 more games, I'm not going to be like end of the world, but I will be severely dissatisfied with your non-conference slate.
Yeah,
if
me
you
too.
come out of it with 4 losses.
Yeah, you need to win 2 out of these last 3 big ones here. That would put you at 2-3 in those games, which, not a winning record in them or whatever, but that's 2 quality wins for your resume, and then a badass strength of schedule would be great. Playing all those great games and only winning one of them is not going to do you a whole hell of a lot of good. I'm with you. I would be disappointed in that. And then, this goes without saying, you would think, but after what happened with Samford and Winthrop, you can't lose to James Madison or Queens or
Sure, yeah.
Fresno State or whoever the hell else is left.
Especially because Queens apparently sucks.
Yeah, so I mean, don't do anything silly there. But yeah, they got to win a couple of these big ones here, in my opinion. Couple from Tamara. Good to see you in here. She says Michigan can stop Boozer and put him in his place. I agree. Michigan starts 3 centers.
Michigan is a very good basketball team.
They beat San Diego State by 40, Auburn by 30, and then Gonzaga by 40 in 3 days.
Yeah, that's grown man work right there.
That is crazy, man. Yeah, they got Big Yaxel playing the 3, and then Morez Johnson, super athletic. Ade Morrow's 7'3". They play those guys together. It's pretty impressive stuff.
Michigan would definitely beat Duke right now.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Michigan would beat anyone. I would like to see them play a Purdue or whoever right now. I'm glad that Arkansas is not doing the Madison Square Garden thing against Michigan next week or whatever that would have been.
We got our lick in and we got out. We're good.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, folks. Well, I think that pretty much does it here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Andrew, any final thoughts before we call it a day here, and let everybody? I would say enjoy your weekend, but I'll be back with the report card for tomorrow morning, and then obviously football, coaching, search, finalization. They play a game Saturday. We'll be around all weekend. Is my point.
Season finale, bro. Come on, don't downplay the battle line rivalry presented by Shelter Insurance.
The end of an era. Taylor Green.
Curtis, I want to ask you. My final thought is: did this post game show? Do you think it went better than last year's post game show after Arkansas lost to Illinois?
Yes.
I think that was one of your most miserable ones. Like that was a tough one.
The problem with that was I was flying solo too.
Yeah, and you were short. It was like shortened for some reason.
Yeah,
like I think they were going to kick you out of the building or something.
Yes, yeah, the whole thing was a disaster, and Arkansas just looked like. I mean, they looked bad in that game. Illinois really put it on them. They played way better tonight than they did this time exactly a year ago.
Infinitely better, and I know, like we didn't expect to be bad or whatever, but truly, like if we're comparing year to year, Arkansas still is way ahead of schedule because they did not lose by 150 today.
Yes, that is very true.
But I don't have any final thoughts other than seriously appreciate everybody for using you spending your Thanksgiving with us. That really is awesome. Timing wise, it did kind of work out. Like I would have preferred the way it played out rather than like if this game were at like 3 and we were like doing this like right after lunch or you're trying to take a nap after eating or whatever and you're like trying to scramble and do this. So it worked out for me. I'm glad we were able to make it work. Wish Arkansas had won. Let's lock in Wednesday, man. It's a huge game. I can't wait to see what happens, and hopefully we'll have a more fun one for you Wednesday night.
Yes, I would concur with that. But I'll see you guys in the morning with the report card. We'll see you Saturday for the Inside Arkansas Football post-game show. Make sure you tap in for that, and we'll probably see you later that night when they announce a coach or otherwise. And so be on the lookout. But appreciate everybody. Subscribe, follow, do all those things for us. If you're in here hanging out with us on Thanksgiving night, I would assume that you've already done that, but you would be surprised how many people watch every day and haven't done it just yet. So appreciate everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving, what's left of it, and the rest of your weekend. For Andrew Ellis, been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas and the Pod at the Palace. We will catch you guys next time.